Barkeep, a man could die of thirst in this pub. Somebody buy me a pint, please. So how about a tune and a tip from yourself?
What I was thinking of was a tune I learned from Tony Nan because we spoke about Tony Nan earlier.
Brilliant.
It was one of the first ones I would have learned from him, and he introduced me to the concept of what we call melodic variation. So it's Garth Barry's jig. Garth Barry was a piper from County Clare, blind piper from Ina. So it's all very connected to my home place, really, to play this tune. And we can play it as a major tune. We can also put, I'll play a bit of it here. So because when we're playing it, I'll explain this. We can play F sharp as a roll, but we can also play F natural as a roll. And then we can also vary it by doing another idea in the first part. So I'll play the tune, and it's what we call melodic variation when we're playing Irish music. It's always subtle, as you know. It's very subtle what we do, but it's very central to, to playing a tune, especially in the fiddle. And I think it's, as well as all the ornaments, the rolls, the triplets and everything else, with that concept of melodic variation is great. The other thing too is the major minor thing is a big thing in County Clare, Galway fiddle playing, Paddy Fahey, all those tunes he wrote. They're all major minor, always this kind of twist.
Yeah, bridging D major, D minor all the time.
All that stuff's going on. So this is a very nice introduction to that.
Yeah.
You can do it as an ornament. So I'll play Garth Barry's jig.
Lovely. Lovely.
So I did F sharp, and then I did
Lovely stuff. So I'd like to talk with you guys a little bit about a recording that you did, again, now a few years ago, with a fascinating name, The Caves of Kong. This has nothing to do with a giant ape running through a tropical island, I assume?
No, this is Kong village in Connemara. And known for The Quiet Man, which is where they filmed it in the village.
Yeah.
And also,
now, again, for our listener, Connemara now is in the
west,
very up top in the wild west of Ireland.
Yeah. And also famous for its caves, which is a very nice forest walk with a few interesting caves along the way. But you mentioned earlier that I like to look through collections for material, and we actually found a setting of a slow air Banana which is the red-headed man's wife, would be a normal thing, but it's also known as the Caves of Kong. So that we decided was a good name for the album.
Aye.
And we kind of got some interesting artworks done based on the caves themselves for some of the album artwork. Yeah, so it was an album of music, mostly from the collections. Some more contemporary repertoire, I suppose, really. But we found all sorts of fascinating tunes, and we managed to get it together to learn them all and make an album of it.
Could you play
Marion Forter?
Yeah.
We could do
So
two jigs,
yeah.
because you said you'd like to hear a set of jigs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there was two very lively, happy.
Yeah. So
He's
there's
different the names than me.
yeah. So there's there was a set of jigs we found in the Goodman manuscripts. Canon Goodman, he was a Church of Ireland, a canon in the Church of Ireland, and back in the late 19th century, and he grew up as a fluent Irish speaker, so he was well able to collect music off local musicians who wouldn't necessarily have had any English back in those days. And as well as being fluent in Irish, it's known that he played flute in his 20s, and he was known for playing the pipes in his 30s. It's not known if he played both instruments prior to that, but he definitely was playing pipes in his 30s.
Oh, great.
So this is a set of jigs he collected off a piper by the name of Tom Kennedy. And the first one is Maya and Forter, which translates as Merry with the Porter. Porter, of course, being a
tall blonde in a dark dress.
And the second one is Kiss the Widow.
Nice.
So,
boy, I tell you, the technical skill that's being demonstrated here. See, no other podcasts are you going to see the musicians leaping about, changing the microphones for you, ladies and gentlemen. Only at the Empty Pockets podcast do you get quality like this. Lovely stuff. So just leave it set up the way it is. I have a request. One thing I want to mention also for our listeners first, you can see Brian is getting kind of gymnastic with the chanter sometimes. With the pipes, to play the low D, he usually has the chanter closed off against his leg. Then if all the tone holes are closed, you can then play staccato notes from there. But to be able to play the low D, he has to lift the chanter up in the air to get the low D note to sound. And also to jump octaves, bouncing the chanter, just making the thing do what you want it to do. And it's quite a cooperation between a player and instrument. Josie, when I came over in 2013, you were organizing or running or developing, or whatever the correct word is, for the FLA thing was called Gathering of Traditions.
That's right.
At that time. And I remember you sent me the music for one of your compositions, the bridge, I think it was the Bridges of Derry.
Yeah.
Do you remember it?
I do.
Could you play it for us?
Yes, you just give me 2 seconds to get the notes.
That's all right, no bother. I'm kind of ambushing them at this point. They were all well prepared with a couple of things, and I just remember Josie asked me to learn this tune, and it was such a nice tune. It would be a shame to let this opportunity go by when we have the composer on hand. So hopefully, without too much scrambling about, we'll find the tune. But this is great.
Is that one?
Yeah.
It's in my head. It's okay. Yeah, it's in my head. It's fine. I didn't have to go looking for it. It's that one, isn't it?
Hi.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Okay, I do remember it. Yeah, it was in my head. It came to my head straight away, actually.
Great.
Yeah, I was able to.
See, when the pressure comes on, pressure makes diamonds, Josie.
So I'll answer that again. It came to my head straight away in that it was written because we had one player has only how many notes on his instrument?
Oh, the 9-note range.
The 9-note range in the
On the Highland
the
pipe.
Highland pipes. So it had to be written it had to be a tune written with only 9 notes in it.
Mm-hmm.
So so that everybody could join in and play together. So yeah.
Yep.
I remember writing it, yes. So do you want to hear it again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Is everything ready to go? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'll
do it play? No.
forgotten it.
Brilliant, lovely. Thank you. God, like a pro, just came up, no problem at all. Well, listen, guys, thank you both very much for coming on the We podcast. I think my listeners are going to enjoy this quite a bit. It's been a lot of fun talking with you. I'm hoping to bring you guys over here at some point. I've kind of been out of commission for a couple of years here with had a whole series of hand operations, and one of them went quite badly. So, that's why I'm doing podcasts now.
Yeah.
But do you have one more set of tunes to leave us with?
Could you do the quadrilles maybe, or
Yeah.
do something else?
Okay,
Something
so
different, yeah.
we'll do a set of quadrilles. They're in 6/8 time, but they're not jigs.
There you go.
Yeah.
Although they're similar. I can never remember whether the 6/8 section of a quadrille is the first and the third movements, or the second and the fourth movements of things like Caledonians and Lancers and so on. But that's essentially what the tunes would have been used for.
Well, I will offer a Skip Healy live in Volan CD to the listener out there who responds with the correct answer. Here you go. It's a challenge.
Yes, I should really go and look it up and memorize it. But these tunes were collected in County Down versions. So the first one is called Annie Laurie, County Down version of a Scottish tune, and the second one is Brian O'Neill, which is like a version of Paddy and the Smoke, I think.
Yeah.
Brilliant. You two have such great intonation playing together, such great phrasing of how you play. That's just hours and hours and hours of playing together. That doesn't just happen. It's just wonderful stuff, man. You know, I mentioned Avalanche briefly before, and
Yeah.
Brian, you gave me one of my biggest memories from Avalanche. It's we were sitting outside at the big table having a dinner, all the musicians together. And you were like, I think that there was me and then maybe Josie and you. And I saw you looking at your watch a couple of times. And I joked, I said, Brian, do you have someplace to go? And you go, no, the space station is about to go overhead in 3, 2, 1. And we looked up and saw this streak going across.
Check that day.
Remember that? That was one of the most memorable things ever. I'm like, wow, that took a lot of planning. Well done, Brian. But listen, guys, thank you so much for sharing some of your time and your lovely music and this great information about the tunes. We really appreciate having you on the podcast, and I'm really looking forward to doing some playing with you again sometime.
Absolutely.
Look forward to that indeed.
All the best, guys. Good luck.
And to playing with your daughter.
Sorry?
And to playing with your daughter.
Absolutely. I actually want to do a couple of little Zooms with you and get a couple of Josie tips from her. She's coming along. She's playing drops of brandy and a couple of some Kerry music, couple slides, couple polkas. She's working on "Wind That Shakes the Barley" right now is her new tune.
Cool.
So great. Well, guys, there you go. That's what this stuff is supposed to sound like. That is the pure drop. It doesn't get much more pure than that. Only thing it's missing is a flute. We got to mix a flute into this next time. Great. Good luck, guys. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch again. Well, there you go. There's some great stuff all together there from Josie and Brian. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Okay? You got to promise not to tell anybody. It's just between you and me. All right? So this tune that I'm about to play for you right now is the tune that I had intended to play for you last week. And last week's tune, The Dairy, I was going to be recording now to follow Brian, who's from Derry. So, but luckily, it's not the last tune that I know, and it's not even the last northern-ish tune that I know. Ding dong goes the message. The one time I don't mute the phone is the one time somebody has something to say to me. So, this tune I'm going to play for you is just across the country a little bit from Derry. This one is from Belfast, and it's called "The Boys of Belfast." Here it played a few different ways and under a few different aliases. I believe I originally learned this tune at all places at Walt Disney World when I started working down there with the Fife and Drum Group in end of 1975 into 76. And they played it as a march called the Farewell to Redcastle. And we used to play these sets of tunes in colonial uniforms and stuff and march around in the 100 million degree weather. It was really, really pleasant. But I think that's where I originally learned this tune and learned it on the fife. Then went back up north and got into playing traditional music. And eventually I started playing with a great fiddle player from Scotland called Johnny Cunningham, who passed away now, Jesus, an alarming number of years ago. But, and he knew it as Campbell's. And then later, I heard it called The Boys of Belfast, which is the name I think I've heard it referred to the most, but I've also heard it called Campbell's Farewell to Redcastle. So there's all the various combinations of names that this tune runs under. In any case, I kind of like it as a march, and then after that, I'm going to play a tune that's a little bit of a variation. of the march for our tip for today is taking a tune in one time signature and turning it into a tune in another time signature, which seems to be the case with this appropriately named now The Girls of Belfast. So we have starting off with the march, The Boys of Belfast, and ending up with this version called The Girls of Belfast. And I think this great kind of quasi underground, well, not really underground, band back in the 90s or 80s, 90s, somewhere back there, called Cran. I think they might have, I don't know if they originated this, but I think they recorded, again, kind of a version of the jig version of the reel that probably started off as a march. Got it? The Boys of Belfast, Candles. Farewell to Redcastle, or all of the above. Good bunch of notes for you. Starting off with kind of a marchy version of The Boys, let's call it for now, The Boys of Belfast. So let's take a quick look at that. Really straight ahead tune, very march structure tune in that there's a lot of long notes in it. Marches, not exclusively, but they don't often have loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of 16th notes. There's reels to get played if you're a marching band like American Fife and Drum groups. you play lots of reels on the street along with marches. So marches tend to have more long notes, so you get almost a little break because you're also walking down the street in some kind of silly garb, more than likely. So starting on an A note here. And this is going to be one of these funny kind of piping mixed scales where we're going to have a lot of C sharps and G naturals, which gives it really that Scottish bagpipe or Scottish traditional music flavor. Okay, so there's the first half of the tune. After that long G that's in there, you can also play the G shorter and play a E after it. So I played that as a long G because for me, the important thing is to get that long G natural sound in there. To me, that's more important than the G and the E. So just to kind of emphasize where that G goes, that's why I left the E out. So going into the second half, we're going to start off up around E notes. So that's the basic tune in kind of march structure. If you'd like to play it as a reel, it's basically the exact same tune. speed it up a little bit and start to put some crayons on some of the longer notes or rolls on the longer notes. Okay. Fun, huh? I hope so. So now let's take a really quick look at the girls of Belfast. Lovely creatures that they are. Women, I don't want to get all hated on by all of our friends out there. So now, I'm going to play it, turn it into a jig. When you take tune, Boys of Belfast, and now you want to turn it into the Girls of Belfast, you want to keep some of the characteristics of the original tune, but then you just want to kind of, shake up the movement of the tune a little bit. So this has a kind of a heavy one at the beginning of the Boys of Belfast. So I would want to keep that if I'm turning it into a jig, and that's what whoever decided to turn it into a jig did. So you have the same influence of the tune you're changing from. And again, about emphasizing the G, natural. You also want to try to bring that out in the jig version of the tune. So again, you want to try to find what you think are the highlights that are in the 2/4 or 4/4 or whatever the heck it is, version 1 of whatever your tune is. Walk some of those over into whatever you're doing with it as a variation or mix up or whatever you feel like calling the thing. And in a way paying homage to the original composition, but now it's kind of your piece a little bit too, because you're bringing in this totally different kind of influence into the tune. So There you go. The boys of Belfast into the girls of Belfast. So, that didn't sound right. Followed by the girls of Belfast. Very, very special thanks again to Josie and Brian for a couple of great weeks of entertainment. It was great to see them again. I hope you all enjoyed their music. Learn some of their tunes. Look them up online. They have a lot of content out there. Also, Brian is always coming up with all kinds of old, new, old tunes. So try to follow along with Josie Nugent and Brian Stafford. Come back again to the old Empty Pockets podcast. Please, please, please subscribe. Like it if you like it. Send me some comments. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you don't like. We'll see you again next week. I'm coming back. Hope you do too. And bring a friend. Like voting. Cheers.